Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'll be talking about haunted places in the U.S. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. You can support the show in many different ways, but a couple of those are through the Patreon feed, our page, and get the Patreon feed there, all the extra episodes from the past and going forward for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get different kinds of shirts and other items as well. Uh, Aprons and sling bags as of now, more to come eventually. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Please check out the links to friends of the show in every episode description. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who is also the co host of this show on Saturdays and has her own channel. And then, of course, Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows along with my own 24/7 online. And there's a couple things I forgot to mention the last time I did the shows in this series, because I took a break from this series for quite a while and just came back to it. Uh, the articles I read, or read, summarize, I should say, uh, they are from different points in time. So if any of these places seem interesting to you and you want to check them out, if you want to go there, uh, please check online for the current status of the place for um, whether it's open or not, hours of operation, all these things, because trespassing is never a good idea for all kinds of reasons, and I do not recommend that. So these articles, again, they're amazing, but they may not be current because they're from over however many years that they've been put out on these different websites. So we are in the middle of Colorado. Also, the other thing I want to mention with this series, I am not finding or listing every known haunted place in every state because there's just so many. And it all depends on who you ask or who you talk to. And so I'm just doing a sort of a short list overall of, let's say, 5 to 10 locations in each state based on whatever research I'm able to, articles I'm able to find, and letting it be at that for each state because there's just so many places, and they kind of to me it's amazing because it points to this idea I've had for a while now that really there can be paranormal activity anywhere, everywhere. Just depends on how often it happens and who's there to notice it. So uh, I will also include the articles that I'm summarizing from on this episode tonight in the episode description, so you can check them out for yourselves for all the pictures. That obviously will not be included in the show because it's an audio format show only, and there's no video. So, so let me see. Let me get back to the document here. And thank you all for being here and listening in, whether you are here for the live stream or you listen on the podcast or YouTube feeds. So, um, let me see. So, yeah, thank you all for being here. And the first place I'm going to talk about here is the Gold Camp Road tunnels in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And this first website that I'm going to be, this first article I'm going to be summarizing here is from the website denvergazette.com. So the title of the article is The Haunted Tunnels of Gold Camp Road. So it starts off talking about how some people believe in ghosts, others don't. Uh, and the article mentions there's many places in the state overall, and uh, and it says that if you're from the Colorado Springs area, you're probably aware of these tunnels. I had a friend. I don't. We don't talk a ton. Just once in a while, once in a great while, on Facebook. He mentioned these to me in a post over there, and I mentioned I would get to it eventually because I was had this idea for the series at least a few years ago, and here we are. So almost 5 years in. So these are multiple tunnels, even though there's only two that are, I guess, open, and there's a third that's closed. You can't actually go in there. Uh, and the third one is the gate that is, or the tunnel that is sealed off by gates. There's many stories that surround what makes these tunnels haunted, and the third tunnel is has a legend, and from what I've seen in both of these articles, uh, it is a legend. There's no confirmed evidence of this happening. Uh, but the legend has said that there was. Legend says, if I could talk properly, it says that the tunnel collapsed when there was a school bus that that struck part of the tunnel, and it killed everyone on the bus. Keep in mind, this is a legend. Hopefully, it's not true, and there's no major evidence of it being so, as far as these articles say, from what I've seen. And so there's different ideas about what happened, how it happened, but after that, uh, the tunnel collapsed, and that's the only thing that anyone really knows for sure. And so no one knows for sure if the tunnel is completely, if it crushed the bus, or if it's still in there somehow, but just buried beneath who knows how much rock. Hikers report hearing laughter in the area, and cars able to get close enough to the tunnels uh, find or end up with tiny handprints in the fog. This is why these kinds of accounts always are amazing to me, because even, let's say the legend is hopefully not true, then why is there why are there things happening there as if it was true? Is it people? How many years has this legend been passed down to where, is it all the energy of people going there expecting to have an experience? All their thoughts focusing on um, people that never existed, but they somehow made thought forms of them instead. Uh, but anyway, so people are reporting finding tiny handprints in the on their windows in the fog or steam that collects on their windows. People also report feeling tugging on their clothes, and have found scratches on themselves with no recollection of impact during their, or any kind of possible way for this to happen uh, while they're hiking. And so going to the article here, it says the first two tunnels don't have any kind of disaster legend surrounding them, but they have their own reports of activity, and from weird accidents to other things. One of the most famous ways to get activity to happen in the area, scoot over a little bit, there we go, is by parking your vehicle in neutral in the second tunnel at night, which is not necessarily the best thing to do, just in case someone else wants to come through. But people will feel pushing against their car. Sometimes enough to slowly move their vehicle uphill to the tunnel against the laws of gravity. Now, I've heard that that can be a illusion somehow with the perception and the levels and all those things of objects. I'm not sure, but people have also reported seeing handprints in the dust covering the trunk of their vehicles uh, as if it was pushed. And people have also seen uh, the figure of a man moving around to the back of their vehicle to push it forward. So it talks about here there's there's all these apparitions seen, horror stories again of the legends of what happened there, uh, and many reports of robed figures with torches exploring the road at night. Tunnels are one of the most haunted places in Colorado, which is another thing you hear often. And so, yeah, that's the first article here. So, let's see what the next one says. The next one here is I'm always amazed when I can find articles from media outlets instead of just paranormal themed websites. Those are useful as well, the paranormal themed websites. But in this case, we have two articles here I found from media outlets, not just paranormal websites that share stories. So this next one here is from KEKBFM.com, and it says, according to Colorado legends, ghosts push your car through these tunnels, and that's of course only the two that are open. It talks about the legend that the school bus was caught under the collapsing tunnel, and these are three abandoned railroad tunnels, and it says abandoned in quotation marks there, near Colorado Springs. It says they were constructed in the 1800s for use during the gold rush, um, and converted for the use of vehicles of cars after um, after that. So these tunnels, there's let's see here. So it says their claim to fame is that during construction, workers lost their lives, as well as uh, stories about the bus and everything. The thing with tunnel workers losing their lives, that seems to be common among tunnels. I've read about a few others over the years where that either happened for sure, and that there's paranormal activity in the tunnel, or it's part of the legend, but there's still reports of activity in the tunnels. So it says that visitors to the tunnels have experienced paranormal activities, from hearing children laughing, giggling, or even screaming. Again, hopefully that's just the sort of the suggestion and the energy from people going through there, um, hearing about that legend and sort of manifesting that activity somehow. There's also a figure of a man pacing around the tunnels, handprints on cars, and vehicles mysteriously moving on their own, often with the handprints found on the vehicles. So there's the figure in tunnel number 2 is talked about here from a first-hand experience. A group of friends decided to go through the tunnels to see what was going on there, and there's folklore that says if you turn off your lights and your car in tunnel number 2, strange things will happen. Uh, According to the eyewitness account, the group pulled into tunnel number 2, turned off the lights, and shut the car off. and that's when they noticed a dark figure pacing back and forth at the entrance of the tunnel. And the figure made its way to the back of the car, looked in, placed its hands on the back of the car, and then quickly disappeared. So it says that the people were freaked out. The group started the car and drove away. And when they stopped after that to look at the car, they found handprints in the dust on the back of the car. So next it talks about the myth of the best. It says best known myth, the myth of the bus crashing and being buried by the tunnel. Uh, so and this is where this is how you might be able to tell it's sort of a legend or a myth is that there's depending on who you talk to or you ask, it's either students going that were just going to school or if it was orphans, and so that's to me that always makes you wonder: is it a legend? Is there something to it? But then the information gets mistaken over time. Legend says that the kids can be heard laughing and giggling in tunnels number 1 and 2, but the sounds turn to screams as you go to tunnel number 3, even though that one is closed. So the truth is, it says a bus accident never happened, which is kind of what I was wondering. The tunnel collapsed on its own after supports gave way, which seems highly possible, just given that you're constructing something that is made of stone and has a bunch of stone above it, ground above it. Um, so if you're not able to keep it up over time, it would, I think, eventually collapse. Other stories about the area include people that would perform different rituals in the area, and it's said that those could just be stories. And so, yeah, that's the end of that article, that location. Um, and there's a lot there. There's a lot of reports, um, and the voices and the sounds, the handprints on vehicles. That's a lot going on, um, especially on the windows as well. But I'm always fascinated by that. Excuse me, by the way there's these legends that there's no proof that these legends actually happen, and yet there's paranormal activity that is happening that seems to go with the legend, or at least it could go with the legend. So then again, was the legend made by somebody to explain the activity that was already happening there? Or again, I really do think that if you have a story or multiple stories about a place that are passed through generations of people and they go there over all these years and they're thinking about this and wanting to have an experience of some kind, sort of putting out energy, trying to take in energy, however uh, you want to call that, then that could lead to activity and it could lead to things that maybe start off as just thoughts, images in one's mind of these kids that supposedly, uh, according to the myth or the legend, were there and died, even if they didn't. There was no kids that died. Um, then eventually, those images and thoughts and ideas stack up. All that focus and intent on an area somehow stacks up, and that's how you get activity. And it's impossible, I think, to know unless you really are there for the whole time and you are able to do research on the spot as things are happening. But that's not the first place I've heard of this happening, where there's this legend, and but there's no evidence that it ever actually happened. But then there's reports of activity in the place that fit the legend. Not to say, of course, that there can't be spirits. I do think that they exist. It's just, as always, I don't think that there is one explanation for everything paranormal. I think there's many things that can be happening in places, from the souls or spirits or consciousness of someone that passed, excuse me, to the to thought forms made by hundreds of people over how many ever years, being told and thinking of this one event, uh, creating these apparitions somehow, and not realizing that's what they're doing. I've always had a hard time with that idea too, because you would think if that was the case, then there would just be images and sounds of all kinds of wild things just happening around people at all times. But I'm guessing there's just variables to how that works and why that works, and because otherwise I think that would be the case. But yeah, so that's really amazing when you have these accounts, and the part of why I want to do this series is to show all the similarities between events happening in just countless places, and whether it's apparitions or sounds, whatever it may be, and how it all seems to fit different patterns as to how and why it happens. Not that, again, we have everything figured out. I don't think we do. But yeah. So, and just to get back to what I was saying just a minute ago, I do think there's all kinds of explanation from things, from thought forms or uh, people's own minds sort of making things happen, affecting electronics or whatever. There's a whole list of things there. To spirits, to time anomalies where people are seeing or hearing people or things from other time periods, um, to all kinds of things like that. So just all these things. And welcome in the chat there, Mike. Thank you for being here. And so, but yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff to consider with all these experiences, especially when there's just legends, when there's no original event that started it. And so often I'm always glad to hear that there's not, because so many of these legends, they talk about terrible events happening. Not to say that terrible events don't happen, but anyway. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. We will be, of course, continuing on with this series next episode that I do in this series, and go from there. I eventually I will do a series once we get through the U.S. on places in Canada and probably in the UK and Europe. Any places that I can find articles that are in English, I will be happy to look into those eventually once we get there as well. So, and we still have a long way to go. Um, we have many states to go through. So, but that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.